Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 465. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Matt.
Up, and away.
This is DC Comics Podcast. We get together and talk about this week's DC books that we read. Coming up on today's show, we've got Absolute Superman issue 9, Action Comics 1088, Supergirl 3, Green Lantern Corps issue 6, Batman and Robin 23, Batman Dark Patterns issue 8, and Batman Gotham by Gaslight, A League for Justice issue 1. Now, I had planned on reading Trinity, but Matt wanted to be done quick today because he's got a thing after, and then he misjudged when it was by 2 hours. So at the last minute, I just threw it aside. So I might come back to it, but I did say after issue 1 that it's quite light and fluffy. I don't know if I need to necessarily read the story about the dogs, but
in prep for the reading issue 2, I started issue 1.
Yeah,
and it is, despite being light and fluffy, is also very Tom King dense. There's a lot of word bubbles, I imagine 2 wouldn't be different.
It didn't seem so bad for the first couple of pages because I literally just opened it when you messaged me saying, "Oh, by the way, my thing's 2 hours earlier." So. But anyway, so that's what we're talking about today. Obviously, as far as news goes this week, there's a lot of stuff about promoting Superman, because Superman is out, is in theaters, and I will not be saying a single word about how I feel about it, because I'll be doing the review tomorrow with David for the collector's cut, and I don't want him knowing how I feel before we do that review. So I'm keeping my mouth shut this week.
Go look at my Letterboxd. There's a very succinct review. That's all I'll say. It's a sentence.
I don't care if you say how you feel. I'm just not going to say how I feel.
Well, I'll just say 6 stars in the dome. All right, it's my Okada versus Omega 2. All right.
Yes.
Was it perfect? No. Was it flawless? Absolutely not. Did I love every minute? Do I already have tickets to see it again? Yes.
Yes, and for the 95% of you who did not get the reference Matt just made, it was a wrestling thing.
Yes.
Just gloss over it. It's fine. We can move on to other things. But yeah, that said, though, the collector's cut review for Superman Returns went out this weekend to tide everyone over till Tuesday, which is when the news movie review goes out.
All I'll say is if I watch Superman Returns and then watch James Gunn's Superman, I get whiplash.
I'll just say that I was never big on Superman Returns, but time has not been kind to that movie in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not even talking about the fact that 2 of the main people involved have become very problematic for nefarious reasons. It's just such a bland, boring ass movie without a spark of life anywhere. And despite the fact that it's technically supposed to be continuing the Donner movies, it's actually kind of dour, and Superman's really depressed looking most of the time. It's really weird, and Kate Bosworth can't act worth a shit. So
she's very wooden. And at least the Donner movies had heart, right? There was a sense of warmness to them, and even Returns, even way back in 06, felt different, but it felt like by design. But regardless, I watched it around the time Man of Steel was coming out. That was the last time I watched it, and it was rough then. I can't imagine what 10 years has been like. Added to that.
I mean, it's been 12 years since Man of Steel came out. Just let that sink in.
Oh my god, time.
I think the main thing as well that surprised me watching that again is the third act starts at the 80-minute mark, but the movie's 2.5 hours long. That last half drags on so much, and so much of it is set in just this barren rock that looks grey and dull, and everything's so desaturated. Oh hey, we're continuing Donner Superman, but we're going to mute all the colors down so that the suit looks you can barely tell what the colors are when it's a low light scene, because nothing's visually popping. It honestly, it's so of its time in a lot of ways, but it's particularly a negative to Superman as an idea is how they chose to capture a lot of that. But hey, anyway, Phil thoughts. It was a 2 hour 20-minute review on Collector's Cut.
You're stopping with that one, right? And then you're just doing the 2025 Superman.
We're not doing
Man of Steel.
We're not doing any of the DCEU stuff. Mainly just because it's not been that long relative since I've spoken about a lot of those movies. When the Snyder Cut came out, we did a thing, and I just don't need to talk about them again anytime soon. So
fair. I was only asking for your mental health. That's all.
Oh yeah.
I don't want you to have to watch those again.
Oh no, I definitely didn't want to. So yeah, no. But yeah, the new Superman review in all its glory will be on Tuesday. Will be the public release over Mail Fuzz Movies on YouTube or on the Collector's Cut podcast feed if you want to check that out and get the full.
By the time it goes up, I'll probably have seen Superman 3 times. Just know that, guys.
Dear. Yeah. Also, Jurassic World Rebirth, Matt, was like a 6 out of 10.
Fair. I mean, again, I know I liked it more than a lot of people. That's
definitely.
Yes. So, like, again, I'm not going to argue if people have issues. One of my good friends at work had a lot of issues with it, and he's seeing it again with a younger family member. To see if that colors it differently, but I doubt it. So, that said, the T-Rex portion of it, some of my favorite Jurassic Parks, in the whole series.
I mean, that's high praise, I guess, but yeah, it was fine. It was inoffensive with a couple of moments.
Over on the Hell website that I'm still on, that you're no longer, the letterbox, where I can't even talk right now. Your middle of the year review, like what's been the best movies? I fully expected Jurassic World to be there, right? And even with my over the top praise of it, it still didn't crack in my top 5. So, and that was before I saw Superman.
Wait, why would you have expected it to be in your top 5? That's delusional on your part.
Because I did give it. Because I still gave it 4 stars, Pete. So I expected it there, but you know what was better than Jurassic World? Rebirth?
Mm-hmm.
Predator, Killer of Killers. Didn't expect that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's better. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than Jurassic World Rebirth. Yeah, that is an accurate statement. Yeah. Anyway, I don't even know if I've got like a top 5 yet where I'd be. Like, I've definitely seen more than 5 movies in 2025, but I don't know if I've got a top 5 where I'm like, I like all 5 of those movies. Like, I don't think I'm at that point yet.
It's real simple. Something you had been telling me to do for years before I got into Letterboxd, where when you have it in one site, it's easily organized, right? So when I make the list, I just find all the 2025 movies, and then it was like, in the list fashion, do I like it more than this? No, this. And then when you have star ratings next to them too, it's easier to measure that one out. So yeah. So, I got Sinners, I got Companion, I got The Monkey, and I had Killer of Killers. But yeah.
All right.
And I have Superman there.
I assume that's at number 1 based on your statements.
It's not even. I can't even put it in the Kong spot where it's like, oh, I love this more than anybody else. It's just in the number 1. The number 1 spot right now.
Well, other people seem to think it's good, so that separates it from Kong immediately.
True, but I always try to put the more genre-y type stuff in that Kong spot, in the 2, 3. But I just can't,
All right, we'll get into things. We have the Kindle rankings, the list formerly known as the ComiXology Top 10 to look at. Which is just the current ranking on the Amazon Kindle charts for the books that came out this week. Matt, what do you think number 1 is?
Superman.
There was no book called Superman this week, so elaborate.
I said absolute Superman.
The word absolute did not come across on this end of the call.
I don't know. Okay, no, I definitely said it. That's why I got very confused at your silence.
And since I'm recording it, the audience are going to hear exactly what I heard. And they're going to know all I heard was Superman. That is correct.
Absolute Superman. Okay.
Thank you for that, Matt. Very good. That's actually how close you should be all the time. This is poor recording skills.
I still need to get an arm. It was Prime Day. I have no business why I don't have an arm yet.
Yeah, I got it's like $10. it's like it's barely an expense. Anyway, Absolute Superbad is number 1. Number 2 is Transformers. Number 3 is Action Comics. 4 is Fantastic Four. 5 is Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion. 6 is Uncanny X-Men. 7 is Fantastic Four First Steps. 8 is Marvel Swimsuit Special. All right.
Nice.
9 is Power Fantasy, issue 10, and then number 10 is Supergirl. So, not like a super heavy DC week, although notably it's 2 Superman books and a Supergirl book that are in the top 10. So, credit where credit's due. Gotham by Gaslight and Green Lantern Corps are 11 and 12. And then that Superman Treasury is 13. Trinity's 14 and 15's Batman and Robin. So, and then 16's Dark Patterns, and then 17's Aquaman. So every other DC book is just in a row after number 10.
Right.
So
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. And maybe that just means there's less Marvel books this week. It's a shame Dark Patterns isn't doing a bit better, because it's very good.
And Batman and Robin. That's where, I want more people to read Batman and Robin and less people to read Hattush. That's all I ask for in this world.
Yeah, we've only got 2 more issues of that, though. Well, actually, that's not true, because it's been delayed enough that what was supposed to come out before the new number 1 is now going to be coming out after the new number 1.
Oh, God.
It's a whole thing. Yeah.
Oh, God.
So there you go. There's the Kindle rankings. So in a very Superman themed week, a lot of super books doing all right, which is nice. And for the record, that Superman Treasury thing it was just like a really big book that we didn't really want to add into our schedule, especially since we were tight on time this week. So we left that by the wayside. So there you go. That is the Kindle rankings, and we can get on to the books. So we'll start off with Absolute Superman issue 9. Jason Aaron writing with Rafa Sandoval and Fico Ossio on the art. So this was decent enough. I do think that this issue was probably lower on my rankings, compared to the rest of the issues of this book. I don't know if I found this one as exciting as a lot of the recent issues, which have been kind of mostly getting better as it's been going along. This one is perfectly fine, but so much of it is just kind of this one kind of attack that Superman does with the Omega Men, and kind of the fallout of that. And there's some getting to know yous and stuff, and obviously Jimmy and whatnot. The big cliffhanger at the end, of course, is that Jimmy has been captured by Lazarus, and Lois is there to question him, so they're going to get to know each other, so maybe that'll lead to some new eventual friendships forming.
I feel like we should have a sense of dread, but considering this issue also has Lois, looking Ra's dead in the face and being defiant towards him, and it being that he runs Lazarus, I definitely feel like Jimmy's in a good place right now. It's probably the best case scenario for Jimmy, despite the sinister undertones.
Yeah, we also have a father box coming into it. In fact, it's kind of how they help cure Superman from his kryptonite bullets. They use that to kind of help fish them out. Because one of the things they bring up here, which I don't know if I've heard this before, is that the kryptonite bullets are kind of, at least by design, after they've been in for a while, will dissolve into his blood, making them kind of impossible to deal with. So I thought that was a particularly nasty little detail here.
Yeah, that when Cal's talking his way through it, where he's just like, "Oh, this is how my planet ended, and this is now how I'm going to end." Right? So you were getting this in his description, like the end of Krypton with the boiling lava and the that type of stuff, and that's what he's imagining going on in his bloodstream. It was Aaron really being descriptive with something really small. So I thought that was cool. Also, a lot of mystery about Omega Prime and this whole cult-like thing to wherever she feels the father box came from, calling it a god and whatever. Definitely some spin on there. So I do like the expansion there. Like you said earlier, it was the getting to know portion of the series.
Yeah.
There's some stuff there that I'm like, is her god, is it Darkseid, being that this is the absolute universe and he's the creator? And what does that mean if we have like the Omega, them worshiping him from one angle, but then what Darkseid really is? I think that would be super interesting if that's the direction it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Darkseid directly has anything to do with him, though. Like, maybe they worship him, but, like, we have his Legion, which I think he's maybe more directly either involved with,
and that's what I mean.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. They call it the Omega, right? And that's one of the things they talk about Darkseid. So it's just like the idea of the god, and of course this god in this universe is Darkseid. because in the conversation that at the end that she's having with Cal, I keep wanting to call him Clark because it's just so second nature. With Cal is that, you know, they need to do more and they need to fight fire with Lazarus, and that he's not wanting any part of that, right? He just wants to protect people. He doesn't want to hurt anybody. So it's almost like, again, he's stuck in the spectrum where both sides are death. And that's kind of how I'm feeling how she feels about Darkseid. Well, we don't know if it's Darkseid. The Omega and then whatever Darkseid is there two sides of the same coin where it's just bad no matter what. You know, so I was feeling that thematic throughout.
Yeah, it's also a scene with Lois and Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul's like towering over her. And she's like very savvy and quick to kind of get what he's like saying or threatening the entire conversation. He's kind of impressed by that. And even at one point when she threatens to kill him, he's like, yeah, do it. I'll just rise again tomorrow. You know, I mean, I don't think she knows they've got a Lazarus pit necessarily, but he knows that. So he's like, yeah, go for it.
Right. But even if she doesn't, there's this rich guy being like, yeah, you can kill me, but someone else is going to pop up. You know?
Yeah.
So I do like that. There's an ominous sense to him that, you know, and he talks about bringing my son. Like he's talking about.
Yeah, that feels like a swerve waiting. Like, is Jimmy his son? Is that who we're talking about? Because that'd be a wild pivot.
This arc is called, what is it called? The Demons? I'm scrolling through. It's called Superman, Son of the Demon. So I almost feel like he's trying to take ownership of Superman.
Oh, you think he's just referring to him as his son already?
Yeah, where he's just like, I'll get him and I'll put the hooks in and I'll make him mine. You know? That said, I have a strong theory that Omega Prime / Primus is someone related to him. Maybe not Talia, right?
It could be Talia. It's not impossible.
Right?
Or maybe
I always forget the other sister's name. Nissa. There we go. Maybe Nissa, someone related, just because she is the complete opposite of what he stands for, right?
Or if maybe if there is a son, maybe it's like a gender swap, so we'll get like Norman Al Ghul, or what's a male name that begins with a T and has like an L in it that's similar to Talia? I don't think there is one.
I don't know.
Thallium Al Ghul? I don't know.
Thallium. I'm sure there's a name in a different language, and I think Wells comes from Arabic, or some of the other languages. I'm sure there's a name in there we're not familiar with.
Screw it. Just go. It's Tim Al Ghul. There you go.
Tim Al Ghul sells shoes, cars in New Jersey. Come on down to Tim Al Ghul's. We'll get you on all four wheels.
Oh dear. So yeah, Superman and the Omega Men go to a Lazarus detainment facility or whatever it is to you know, and we get there's some cool art here. You know, there's like Superman speeding through the place and like knocking guys down, and we get this like half-page panel of like seeing the red streak of the cape go around and all these bodies.
Very, very Flash-like.
It is very Flash-like, yeah. You know, and then there's some stuff with tanks and whatnot, and even some like tanks that transform into mechs, and it's a whole thing. And it's you know, it's all right. I think this stuff though didn't excite me as much as like, you know, like Superman and Lois like finally maybe starting to like have some common ground or learning more about his time in Smallville. I think learning about the Omega Man is probably the least interesting aspect of Absolute Superman for me so far. Not that it's bad per se, but it's not as exciting as what Lazarus says. It's not exciting about learning what happened in Krypton. It's not exciting about you know, Lois and Jimmy, or
Brainiac.
Even Brainiac was obviously great, or Smallville. All that stuff has been super interesting, and then I think the Omega Men is maybe the one element where I'm like, yeah, this needs to be here, and I get it. I get why it's here. And it may get more interesting as we learn more about who some of them are and whatnot, but right now I'm not as invested.
Well, I like that in this universe, even the good guys are still kind of bad, right? Because they're very militant, very willing to kill to prove a point, because even Primus is like, we'll kill every peacemaker and then hang their bodies, you know, for all to see, and you know, and then we'll hang Christopher Smith's body outside of Lazarus headquarters. And you're kind of like, you know, they're supposed to be the good guys, okay? Which gives, you know, Superman something to push back against too. And then even that he doesn't want to be called that. He's like, why does everyone keep calling me that? And Jimmy points out that, oh, that's what we assumed the S was for. right? And we all know, as the readers, that the S was his symbol of his class in Krypton. So the fact that people are already taking it as something different, and making it their own. And then Jimmy's whole story too about why he, ended up with the Omega Men, and he thought like if he ever had a kid, and they asked, "What did you do when the world was going to hell?" And he's like, "Oh, just sitting scrolling on my phone." I did like that message.
Yeah, but
maybe it's not go join a militant organization.
Yes, but
just that question.
Let's not forget the follow-up though, where he's like, "Oh, but the shit I've seen messed me up so bad, I got a vasectomy." So Jimmy Olsen has a vasectomy in the absolute universe. The absolute solution to the child problem.
Yep.
Having said that, I'm pretty sure it's reversible, so whatever. I mean, you can always go in and get a
snap. It's like
it's the end of Back to the Future when Doc Brown's putting the two electric cables together. They just go in and just reconnect it.
Reconnect. Now it's not going to run as smooth as it did before, but the baby highway might still be worth of it.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Less of a sniper rifle, more of like a spud gun at that point. But still, whatever.
Yeah. A blunderbuss. You gotta be up real close to make it work.
So the big dark thing here is that when they do find the prisoners, Clark sees them through the walls, and it turns out that they're already dead. They're all hanging up. So it's a pretty dark full-page spread of all these dead bodies hanging up. So, no, I mean, I think it's a solid next chapter, but it's definitely not as exciting to me as like most of the chapters up until this point. I'm excited for where we're going next and what we're doing. Obviously, Superman having conflicts with the Omega Men and Prime and all that is interesting. Lois being left with Jimmy at the end is interesting. But yeah, probably like I don't know if it's my least favorite issue, but it's definitely in my bottom 2 or 3 out of the 9 we've had so far. So there has to be some lesser ones, and this is just kind of one of those for me. Plus, having the 2 artists, having Sandoval not do the whole issue, I did notice it a little bit. Here or there. I mean, to be fair, the styles aren't like super different necessarily. But I definitely feel like I was noticing it in the faces on some of these pages.
I think all of the Lois and Ra's stuff is Fico Ossio, and it's it looks close enough, but you can tell it's not quite the same as Sandoval.
Yeah. So, as what it is. What do you give an absolute Superman, Matt?
I give it a solid 7.5.
Yeah, it's a 7 for me. It's good. But, I'm not, like, super pumped about it either. So, pretty 7. Action Comics 1088, Mark Waid writing with Skylar Patridge on the art. So this is the second chapter of the Superboy stuff that we're doing. And what's so funny about this is that this issue actually addresses something I said about the first part, which is one of my complaints, was that part of this whole Superboy thing that I don't like, that I never thought about before, was the idea that it means that Lois didn't name him. It's just a continuation of Superboy. And this issue actually addresses that, but I'm not sure I like how it addresses it, because it feels really... It's almost like Mark Waid realized, oh yeah, everyone loves this idea that Lois like names him Superman in the paper. Like she's the one who coins that term, and it's kind of sweet, and it means something to Superman. And I don't want to lose that. So now we have an awkward scene where Perry, a younger Perry, turns and says, "Oh, that Lane's niece, she said something that sounded catchy. What was it? Oh yeah, Superman." Really? Teenage Lois Lane just happened to coin the phrase off panel somewhere.
And her uncle Charlie worked for the Daily Planet and brought her on Bring Your Kid to Work Day. A lot of hoops to jump there, Mark Waid.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit. It feels like a lot of hoops to just explain something that obviously is a knock-on effect of choices you've already made.
And so I like the idea of Superboy running around Smallville and doing things, right? This takes it too far, and I think that we're getting into territory that I don't like, where he's going around the United States, doing things as Superboy, and going to Gotham for the first time, and Los Angeles, and Central City. And I was just like, it is a little bit too much, for me to accept teenage Clark Kent running around the country doing this.
Do you know what's funny about this is that I agree with what you're saying. I mean, obviously I don't like Superboy as a concept anyway, but I also agree with your complaints on top of that. The funny thing is, though, is I actually think this issue is pretty good. I think as a written issue, I think it flows great. I think it sets up, you know, I think Waid clearly has a vibe and like a direction he wants to take these teenage Clark stories on. And I think it is a well-told story. And I found myself enjoying it in spite of conceptually not really liking some of the stuff that it was doing. So it's kind of a weird place to be in, where I think ultimately I was enjoying the vibes of it. It's almost just like, if this was like an out of continuity, like, oh, this is like, you know, I guess the Superboy TV show is the example that would come to mind. Yeah. Or even a Smallville, I guess. But like, if this was out of continuity and it wasn't meant to be like the Superman that we all know from like the rest of the universe, I'd be like, you know what, fine, this is the take on it, is this. But yeah,
if they had decided that after Spider-Man Homecoming came out, like, let's do that with Superman, and this was like Superman Homecoming, and we're adjusting all of the teenage angst and stuff, I think it's really strong, because it does feel like when Mark Waid was writing Archie, where he's really nailing the teenage.
Oh yeah, I see that comparison. That's a good comparison.
Yeah, like the teenage conversations and the friendships and how they relate to one another. All that stuff's really good. But then we get to the Superboy stuff and not so much. That's at the back half. I felt the stuff more than I would be used to with reading with Superboy. Him helping put out the fire in the school by dumping the water tower, right? That's something that'd be okay.
Well, yeah, this goes back to what I was.
It's a little bit weird.
But that comes back to what I was saying, though, is that I actually think the issue is mostly pretty good, and I think it's the atmosphere is good, the character voices are good. I like it getting into some of the teen stuff with him being shocked how Lana looks after, you know, their summer break. She's obviously went through some more puberty and is shocked by the fact that she looks like a woman now, you know, relatively anyway. So
right, she went from his like, oh, that's my tomboy best friend, to, oh my God, Lana's hot. How do I deal with this? I can't even talk to her now. You know?
Yeah, and you know the humor of that.
Which again is very Archie.
The humor of that of him like crushing his locker with his hand because he gets distracted by that is funny, and I think this side of the book I actually quite like, and I think most of the Superboy heroics in the back half I think are pretty solid, and it's kind of like, because they do this whole thing where the Kents are like, hey, we don't want you doing anything in Smallville as Superboy because people might recognize you, and we'll start to like move away. The mum gives him an old pair of glasses and says, hey, wear these to sort of help differentiate you from Superboy. And it's like, okay, that had to come at some point, but he's told not to do anything, and that's why he's going to other cities. That's why he's going around and doing that elsewhere, so that he's far away from anyone who could maybe recognize him. So the back half of the issue being that, oh, there's a tragedy in the school, and I also appreciate that this was a normal, relatively mundane thing by comparison. And what I mean by that is that one of my complaints of the first issue is that a supervillain just showing up out of nowhere felt like one of those Mark Waid, like, oh, and a villain just shows up and now there's a crisis. I appreciated that this was like, oh, it's just a fire and it's because of faulty sprinklers. It's something a bit more down to earth. So him picking up the water tower, putting that out, and then investigating the sprinkler company who cheaped out on what they, you know, their installation. And making sure he gets out of trouble. And also, of course, the part where he kind of threatens the guy, but then comes back and apologizes and says that he should never have physically threatened him. He still obviously needs to face for his crimes. The police are on their way. I've given them the evidence, yada, yada, yada. But, there's some growing pain stuff here. And I think the growing pain stuff is the stuff that I'm going to enjoy about this book. Yeah. It's just conceptually some weird things that it almost feels like it's going to be impossible to get through an issue of this without one reminder of like, oh, that's why I don't like this as a concept. But generally speaking, I think it's well written and the art's pretty solid.
Oh, I love the art's my favorite part of it. I think, well, you know, we like Skylar Patridge on the Supergirl backup.
Yeah.
With Tamaki. So doing super characters right in their wheelhouse. But yeah, I mean, just the scene of Superman or Superboy realizing where the guy's like, don't hit me, don't kill me. And just the little panels of his eyes, you know, his eyes open, then he squinches them, and then he leaves. It makes a hole, right? And then he comes back through the hole to apologize. And just the way that it's framed and the way that he's drawn, it's two completely different vibes for the same area. And that's some really good visual storytelling at play.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's all good. Obviously, the big thing is that there's a Mr. Blake at the school who shows up at the Kent farm at the end and says he needs to talk to Superboy, and you know the Kents and Clark all stand there kind of shocked that someone's already figured it out. Is there someone named Blake that I'm not thinking of that this is?
So, as far as I know, the only Blake I know is Captain Comet. I don't know if this is the same one. But he's a history teacher. I know that. So who knows? Because yeah, the Adam Blake that I looked up is Captain Comet. But so I don't know if this is Adam Blake. It's just Mr. Blake. So maybe they're related. But yeah.
I mean, you said he's a teacher. That's a pretty strong connection.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, if this is Captain Comet, I don't know if this is Adam Blake, right? When I looked up Blake DC Comics or Mr. Blake DC Comics, Captain Comet's the one that came up.
Yeah, but you said he was a teacher as well, right?
Oh no, this is the teacher, Mr. Blake.
Okay, no, I thought you were saying that Captain Comet is also like his secret identity is a history. And I thought, oh, that's a big connection between the two.
Yeah, no, my fault. I was meaning this teacher is the history teacher.
Okay,
so
yeah.
He's the,
all right, yeah. So
the science, he's not the engineering teacher or whatever that might lead him to become a space traveling hero.
Remains to be seen then if this is that character or just someone else. But certainly no one's struck to mind because they really emphasized that name Blake when they first wrote it on the board, and I'm like, that seems like they're trying to point that out to me, and I'm not. My brain's not clicking with anyone for that. But yeah, honestly, it's a good issue. It's a good issue that is only marred by the conceptual misgivings I have with it, and the jumping through the hoops to have Lois still name him felt really clunky, and like we're just trying to fix something with this.
There's one little thing that I like too is when Lana and Clark are in the class and her name comes up alphabetically after hers, and Clark says alphabetically she's sat right behind me, so I couldn't get another look at her. Just teenage awkwardness at its best there.
Oh yeah, I remember being in school and wanting to catch glances at a certain girl one time or another. That was definitely a thing. Where you, especially when you didn't share a class with someone, so you just hope you'd pass them in the hall on the way to another class. You're like, please hope she goes this way.
You do.
Please go this way.
Or where the class is, you do the walking lane, going by the door. That type of stuff. So. But yeah, just all those little moments, I think, outweigh the sillier things that I do not enjoy of the Superboy type stuff. But at least Wade's trying. He's just not throwing out these concepts, and just being like, oh, this is just how it is. The whole reason for Clark to go out of town is because mom and pa told him to.
Yeah, no, there's logic to it. There's a weird feeling to this to me because I think it's pretty good, and I enjoyed mostly reading this issue, despite my conceptual complaints, but it does put it in a weird place where, I mean, I will say this, it's definitely better than World's Finest, and it's better than most of what Justice League Unlimited's been so far. I think it feels a lot more focused in those books. Like, Wade's really got a plan in mind for what he wants to do here, at least so far. It's only 2 issues, so who knows. But obviously Batman and Robin Year Ones is a crown jewel at the minute, but we'll see where this goes. What are you giving Action Comics, Matt?
Straight 8.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's an 8. Yeah, I think it's a good issue. I think it's just my own kind of like personal feelings about some of the choices, really, and that's about it. All right, Supergirl issue 3, legacy number 272, Sophie Campbell writing and on art. So this kind of wraps up the arc to an extent. There's still stuff left, but this whole idea of the duplicate Supergirl, Larsa, is that her name? That's kind of wrapped up in the sense that the conflict seems to be over by the end of the issue, but it seems to be leading in naturally to what we're doing next. So, aside from like a tangent about mac and cheese sandwiches early on, where Supergirl and Lena bond a little bit, This is mostly Supergirl checking in on her parents, making sure that the the imposter's not doing anything bad to them, and she doesn't seem to be fair, outside of the lying to them and hypnotizing them. The big thing though is that when Larsa comes out to confront Supergirl, she whips out that ray gun with the black kryptonite that she got developed last time, and when she fires it at Supergirl and Crypto, they turn into Satan Girl. And well, Crypto doesn't get a new name, but I take a pick.
He's the Hound of Hell. Satan Girl. Because Satan rules. I was like, okay, this is silly. And I'm glad it was just contained here, I mean, I think what made it work for me was the page or two after where it's just like a montage of panels of Satan Girl going around and basically doing that section in the Superman 3 movie where Superman's just being a dick when he's on, like, it's not, I mean, technically it's not red kryptonite, but it's basically red kryptonite. Where she goes around and, like, a birthday party, a girl's about to blow out her candles, and Supergirl just super breasts the entire cake onto their faces. Like, that's funny to me. Or pantsing everyone in the park at super speed, kind of funny. Knocking over dumpsters, just as she's in her teenage punk rock nihilism phase. The panel that got me though was Satan Dog Crypto peeing on that truck, and his pee is apparently acid, so it's melting.
I was thinking lava rather than acid, but I mean, same difference, I guess.
Or lava. Yeah. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. It gave me a good chuckle. But yeah, I was like, Satan Girl, where oof. It's kind of cheesy, but then they pulled it off.
Yeah, it's mostly just having fun with it. The art's nice and expressive, which helps. So there's a panel where Satan Girl sticks her tongue out at Larsa. And what's interesting is that Larsa tries to get concerned about the Danvers around Satan Girl and gets worried about them. So she actually kind of has a bit of a face turn ultimately when she decides to heat vision the ray gun, which, now why that, it completely reverses the Supergirl stuff. I mean, it doesn't immediately, admittedly, but it's...
No, it's just, she's destroying it so she can't use it again, right? Yeah. She's like, oh no, the folly of my ways. Because it's Lena's...
That's right, yeah, it's this...
Tiny Tano.
Tiny Tano and Streaky with Lena come in, and she starts firing filtered kryptonite from the kryptonite vision of Titano through whatever crystal she's got, which separates Satan Girl and Supergirl, and Satan Girl just kind of disappears once that happens. But we get this. There's a really cool panel where she's separating, and you see just kind of like it's like a blobby like connections between the two of them. It's just a good panel. Is all I can really say.
Oh, and then her mom going, Kara, were you Satan Girl? That just gave me a laugh because that is such a ridiculous sentence. You know?
Also, we have speaking of the movies, we've got a follow-up to the big S that's thrown at the end of Superman 2, except now it's more the equivalent of well, I guess the Flash's ring. I was going to say like Iron Man's suitcase that's got the suit in it, but it's just an S that Lena throws to Supergirl, and it kind of like forms around her into her current or slash new outfit, depending. I think it's the same as it was before. Maybe it's a little bit different, but it's mostly the same.
Well, it's the non-jacket Supergirl. It's the long crop top, right? The long sleeves and the skirt.
Did she not have that in issue 1 before she? I thought she did.
To be honest, I can't remember.
I thought she did.
I thought she had the jacket.
I was like, she did at the start of this book. But it doesn't really matter, I guess.
It's the one that we're used to. It's not the 80s one that she was wearing earlier on with the blousey top, So it's what we come to expect more with Supergirl.
Yeah, and it's a 2-page spread where there's a couple of panels up in the corner that kind of show the suit materializing around her. But then the big 2-page spread is her grabbing Larsa and saying, "I'm Supergirl." So it's a big whole moment. Someone commented on the episode with the last issue in it, and mentioned that Sophie Campbell often writes stories about like identity, probably coming from the fact that she's trans. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense reading this story, because this whole thing's about who's the real Supergirl and like, what makes me, and all that kind of stuff.
Sophie Campbell was trans.
Yeah, I didn't know that until someone said either.
Oh, very, very cool.
So And
that checks out now. Now you definitely get a bit more of an understanding here.
Yeah, you can sort of tell where the themes of the book are kind of coming from in that case. And there's a whole nice bit here where afterwards Supergirl hugs Larsa because she was kind of theorizing with Lena before the fight started, before she got hit with the ray gun, that maybe Larsa's just kind of super lonely and this is her acting out because she's depressed, whatever. There's a nice little bit where Kara says, surely she wouldn't do all this just because of loneliness. And Lena's like, have you ever been truly lonely, Kara? Because it drives people kind of nuts. So, yeah. Also, I laughed at one point because I think it's when they're fighting before the hug, where Larsa says, oh, I've taken my own color scheme. And I'm like, that's not your color scheme. That's Lex Luthor's color scheme you've taken.
Right?
Say that again? You cut out for a second.
You're talking about Lesla, right?
Lesla, what did I say?
I thought you meant said Lena because you cut out as well.
Okay,
so I wasn't sure. There's too many L names in this one, but because Lesla has the orange and purple going, so not so much the green. She
even has an L in her family logo, which looks like a Luthor thing. So it's just very confusing. Anyway, the end of the issue is that Lesla's parents show up and say that she is breaking a bunch of laws by leaving Kandor and coming to the world. So she's in trouble, and so is Supergirl for being an influence on her. So we're going back to Kandor for some sentencing next issue. Now, based on the previous issues of this, the cliffhangers have never been like, this is what the entire next issue is going to be. I expect this will be, this will be the first scene that they deal with it, and then it'll move on. Oh,
definitely. And how can they hold Kara responsible for something that Lesla did? That's what I'm like. We're getting back to Kryptonians just being absolute a-holes.
Oh,
which I'm fine with.
This is Science Council. Them trying to, we know better bullshit.
Them trying to impose their laws on Supergirl, even though she hasn't been part of Kandor for however many, that's not her. So, just back at it with the bad Kryptonians.
Yep.
Makes the super family stand out more.
Yeah. So, and to be fair, the color scheme that the parents have is, it's not the exact same as Lesla because they don't have the orange, but they have the green and the purple.
Theirs is definitely, it looks like Legion of Doom era Lex. They're just missing the high collars.
Yeah. The fact, they just fed right in with the Joker. They've got a lot of Joker color in their color scheme as well.
They do.
See some white face paint and they're rocking.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. No, I had fun with this issue. I think this is obviously a lighter book. It's going for kind of a more fun and poppy, but it's it's focusing on the characters a little bit more. I think having this friendship form for Kara and Lena is a nice idea. It's already starting to feel like it's enhanced the book a little bit with Lena sort of interjecting with some ideas here or there and making Kara question how she's like processing or viewing something. She's already like reconsidering her ideas because there's a good influence in her ear. So I think there's a lot of potential, and I think the art is pretty damn good. Like I think it's nice and clean. There's nice like flow to some of the action. Obviously Lena throwing over the S that's going to form the outfit was a great big moment. But even just the ray gun, little tiny Tano was a good bit. Supergirl separating from the Satan Girl was a really fun panel.
Yeah.
There's lots of memorable bits in here. It's definitely not going to be for everyone, this book, because it's definitely this more light, kind of teen focused, like, pulpiness.
It does feel very YA. Yeah, it feels very YA at times, but I think that's fine because it's its own identity, right? There's not another super book that has the same vibes as Supergirl, which is good, right? They should all be distinct.
Even Action, which is doing Teenage Superman right now, doesn't feel exactly like this. That Action has more of a kind of a nostalgic look back at the teen years through like it's like the example in my head is Stand By Me, but it has that kind of tone of a movie that's looking back fondly at teen years, whereas this feels a lot more kind of contemporary of like, no, this is like fast talking modern teens like discovering themselves kind of thing.
Like that, Stand By Me, something like that, or I'm trying to think what are some of the other 80s ones that look back towards that. Almost kind of Back to the Future, but that's a bit different because it's an outsider. looking at all that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
yeah,
I think there's
nostalgia.
There's nostalgia in there because like they go back to the 50s, and there's kind of like a sort of idolized version of that. So it's kind of in there, but it's like a different avenue of which it gets there. So, all right, what are you giving Supergirl, Matt?
5.
This girl's not playing nice today. Say that number again.
7.5.
Thank you. I don't know if it's like cutting you out because it's not detecting you speaking, or if it's just dropping out.
I'll move this closer.
What an idea. He always had that option, everyone.
But I chose not to do it. Anyways, what's your rating?
Of you? Like a 4.
Well, we know that. You know what? By now I should at least be close to a 5. All right.
Get a mic arm and have the mic close to you properly so everything sounds good, and then we'll maybe talk about being a 5 or above.
I've never been cool. Why start now?
All right, yeah, I'll give this. I don't know. I mean, I think you're about right. I'm just sort of debating if I inch up today or not. I think I'll agree with the 7.5, but like it's kind of in a really comfortable spot, I would say. So that's Supergirl. Green Lantern Corps, issue 6, legacy number 109, Morgan Hampton and Jeremy Adams writing, with Amancay Nahuelpan on the art. So this is continuing all the stuff we've been doing, and like a lot of these previous issues, it kind of like pivots over to 2 other characters and gives them both a story here. So there's an A plot and a B plot. There's a lot of stuff with Kelly and Helly at the start, just kind of addressing, that inner mind stuff from last issue, and just sort of reminding us of it first of all, but also sort of just showing that Helly is concerned about it and is trying to prod her. But the main 2 stories here is that Sinestro is tasked via the boss, Jessica Cruz, who tells him to go back to New Corrigar and find the remains of the yellow power battery to get any of the materials that he can salvage, because they're still like low in those to make the new ones. So he's like, sure, I'll go do that. Meanwhile, Joe comes over to Jessica and says that Jessica's kind of turning into a hermit again, just in her Green Lantern office instead of her house. So maybe she's fallen into some bad habits, so she should come with her to deal with this other problem that's cropped up. So Jessica gets a little bit, pissed about the insinuation, but ultimately agrees to come with. So our 2 plots are these 2 pairs of characters. So Sinestro, who's quickly joined by, I'm going to call her Vex, because Vexaru is hard to keep saying. So
yeah,
yes, Vex, the Tamaranian who became Green Lantern back in issue 1 of this series.
1?
Yeah, I think it was 1. So she's like, hey, can I accompany you on the assignment? And he's like, you know what? I applaud you for seeking out the smartest Green Lantern to train you. That's good thinking, cadet. Off we go. So they go off to do that. Meanwhile, Joe and Jessica have basically found Mogo, right? They don't necessarily know that when they're going up to like investigate, but very quickly, it's like the first page when they get there. Oh shit, this is Mogo. And it's hard. There's like fissures and like cracks all over it, lava spewing up. There's like green constructs just kind of coming out and attacking anything that gets close. So it's kind of suggesting that Mogo's in a lot of pain and is scared and frantic and doesn't really know, what it's doing. I'm saying it because I don't even know what pronoun Mogo uses.
Yeah, because even then it's just Mogo, right? Even in the original story, Mogo doesn't socialize.
Yes.
They don't really specify. So yeah.
But anyway.
Mogo is Mogo.
So they get close, and this whole story is kind of about, them fighting off some constructs that Mogo makes. But the main thing is that basically Joe brought Jess here with the idea that Jess, because she has some experience being scared and having to, gain some confidence and some self-power and control, that she would be able to speak to Mogo, and also this idea that she won't realize that she's kind of like, going into some of her own problems again until she recognizes that someone else is doing the same thing. And basically she recognizes that Mogo is basically cutting itself off from the galaxy because it's scared because everything that happened when it got rammed into Thanagar back in the previous big story. So it's I think it's a nice little bit for Jess, because I've enjoyed her being like around as a constant presence, but she's not really had a story in any of these issues. And I do still really appreciate that they're rotating through the various characters. And we just had a couple issues there where it was like Baz and Kelly in one story, and who was the other story? Was it Guy? Was the other story last time? I can't remember. But
yeah, it was Guy and that lion-looking guy.
That's right.
The lion-looking one.
Yeah, and then this time it's Jess and Joe, and it's Sinestro and our new character. So
Vex.
Yeah, so like I really dig how it's like going around these different things. So I like that Jess gets a little bit of a spotlight here. Nice little bit of character for her to pump her up before we get to her big crossover that's coming. The Sinestro stuff on New Corrigar takes a bit of a spin, because he's expecting to find like a ruined wasteland, and turns out everything's booming. Like the cities have been built back up, and it's all because of his son and also Zod's kid who are behind all this.
The art makes Zod's kid look like Chucky with a goth haircut.
He does a bit, actually.
I can't unsee it now. Like, yeah, I didn't hate this as much as I thought. When I saw these two little kids,
oh sure,
I went, oh my god. But through what they were saying and where the story goes, I was like, turns out maybe the kids are all right.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried at first as well, because I'm like, I don't know if I care about these two, given that my only exposure to them was like the first part or two of like when they had the story with the Super Sons.
Yep.
Or not even with the Super Sons, but they were like the anti-Super Sons. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
They were the Sinister Sons.
That's right, yes, the Sinister Sons.
Yeah.
So I will say, Sinestro's son, I don't know how I feel about his weird scarf thing that he's rocking. It's a little bit of a design choice, I'll say that much.
Yeah. And the glasses definitely makes him seem like a hipster.
Oh, for sure. Definitely a hipster. Yeah. So yeah, it turns out they're using the nth metal that was in the power battery to help like power this entire city that they've got back up and running on New Corrigar. So they don't want Sinestro to take any of it. And he's proud of him, but he's like, hey, the universe is at threat if we don't build these power batteries, so we can't need to take it. Like, it's more important than even Corrigar, which is kind of big coming from Sinestro, actually. But the Sinister Sons start, like, punch him and start fighting. So we get a little bit of action here. There's a good bit where Vex makes like a big sort of like Cyclops ogre looking creature, like in a construct, and slaps Zod back, to which Zod is like, I think I'm in love. And for the rest of the issue, he is crushing on this Tamaranian. He is like found a woman that is strong, and I'm like, dude, she's like, I mean, I don't even know how old she is, but she's at least 18, and you're 11.
League, bro. Just the idea that Kryptonians being enraptured by Tamaranians, just a thing that I like, because there was in the Philip Kennedy Johnson Future Stories, that was happening around Future State. There's that one Tamaranian Kryptonian hybrid in there, So I just like the idea of the species gelling with each other, the different aliens. So the fact that he's got a crush on her is hilarious.
Yeah. Ultimately, basically Sinestro's son suggests, hey, let's stop fighting. There's like an nth metal ship that crashed somewhere recently. That'll probably have a bunch of material, and Sinestro agrees to go take that instead, and says he's proud of him. It's a whole nice little bit. Also, just not to gloss over some of the fun art stuff in the Jessica and Joe bits, where there's like constructs of like a demon army coming after them from Mogo, and that's when Jess has to like talk Mogo down, and that's her big kind of section. And then there's a final page at the end, which is just kind of on its own, which is Starbreaker being like, aha, my entropy lantern is almost done. We're about to ruin the universe. Very good. So yeah, we're setting up for issue 25 of Green Lantern, where this big crossover is going to hit.
Those stones that he's got on his book look like the everlasting gobstoppers in the original Willy Wonka movie. So I just want to say they look quite tasty.
It's funny you went to that, because I went to, that's every color of kryptonite coming out of one bit. That's where my mind went.
Too. But no, they look like the everlasting gobstoppers. It always looked hard to eat. You know, as a kid, I'm like, well, no candy is that shaped like that. So, but yeah, the build up there, they got a lantern built, it looks like. They just don't maybe have the power sources quite for it yet, but they got the shell of it. Yeah,
they're close. So presumably they'll be starting off that arc with getting their power source or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nahuelpan's art, as per usual, has its moments. Has some nice, you know. I think it's very house style. I know it's a really lazy way of describing it, but it is very house style, and we use that a lot to describe art that's pretty solid, but not necessarily going above and beyond. You know, I will say occasionally there's like a face that just feels a little bit maybe off or a little bit too skewed or something like that. But you know, for the most part, like I have little to complain about. It's just it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, there's a lot of work went into this. At one point, Joe makes a construct of a big mech suit.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of detail. Yeah, there's a lot of detail in that mech suit and like her in the center of it, fighting these big green constructs that the Mogul is making. So, like, you know, a lot of efforts get in here. It's just, you know, it's not like out of this world art either. No pun intended. So, but no, pretty solid.
Yeah. I will say it looks the best with that panel or that page that has Jess on the left side. And we get her full body, and there's panels next to it. I will say that's I think where Nahuelpan's art looks the best there. And some of the stuff on Thanagar too. I think a lot of the spacey looking things, his style lends itself there. So
I will say, I think
it's a decent book.
I think he draws the kids' faces really well. I think they're very expressive and they work. I do think his Sinestro is a little. I don't know, like his head almost feels like not tall enough or something, like, or he's went too far with like the whole, you know, the sides are bald, but he's got the pointy bit in the middle. I think he's put the bald parts too far back, and it looks a little bit weird.
His widow's peak is really peaking.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, his head looks almost too small for his body. At times.
This is a minor quibble. It's not a big deal by any means. But no, I still love what this book is doing. I love that it's given us a chance to have all these characters rotating and everything's feeding into the greater Green Lantern mythos that we're doing right now. And it has, you know, decent art. So, no, I like this as a really good little companion book to Green Lantern. I think it's nice to get something for all these characters to get time to shine. All right, what are you giving Green Lantern Corps?
Let's give this a 7.5.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think if I like the art a bit more, you know, I would dig it. Just that bit extra, but I think I agree with the 7.5. I think it's a solid issue, and we'll leave it there. All right. Batman and Robin, issue 23, legacy number 89, Philip Kennedy Johnson writing with Miguel Mendonca on the art. So, Robin is, well, he's not technically kidnapped anymore. He's technically free in that Undercity, because he ends up interacting with what were the kids called? The Undesirables or something?
The Irregulars.
Irregulars, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're also undesirable, but maybe I'm projecting my
that's
own
me. That's me. They're street urchins. Bruce sees a lot in them. So they're irregular, not what'd you call them? Unredeemable?
I've forgotten now.
Undesirable.
Undesirable, yes.
Yeah.
Undesirable, expendables, another word you can maybe throw out there.
I mean, that was the original name of the Robins, Expendable 1 and Expendable 2. So, you know. But yeah, I loved all that stuff with Robin down in the you know, it's not a forgotten city, but it's like the remnants of old Gotham. And he's fashioned himself like a domino mask out of scraps of his shirt, you know, and I just like that whole vibe.
I think Domino Mask has been a bit kind. I would say it's more like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles just like tied around his head kind of number.
Yeah, I didn't know what that's called though, because I just know that the mask, I don't want to call it a Zorro mask, although that's kind of closer to what it is.
Kind of.
It even has the ties and stuff. So him fashioning that so he can save the kids and fight whatever the hell Memento is, because we know it's a demon of some kind, right? But with all of these bodies coming out of him, there's this Cronenberg-esque take to him now that we're getting out of. It's gone from Fincher to Cronenberg, and that's a compliment. Just there's some creepy vibes, but Damien's standing up to him, which is cool.
Yeah. The book starts with basically witnessing what happened when Nicholas Crowe tried to summon this demon that is Memento Mori. And Memento Mori didn't take Nicholas Crowe's body. It instead took his child, because
his son.
It's more interested in causing pain than killing someone. So all of a sudden, the idea that it's after Damien to punish Batman makes a lot of sense. So this is all stuff that Batman is seeing through the mirror with Etrigan, kind of showing off the memories of the supernatural stuff. So that kind of sets that stuff up. That's kind of our opening scene. And then, like you say, there's a lot of stuff in the Undercity with Damien jumping out and helping the kids and trying to fight off Memento Mori. And the kids being like, wait, I think that's Robin. Is that Robin? Are you Robin? So I think that's a good fun little bit, because it's like Robin or Damien being like, oh, he's been a hero to these kids down here, and he's inspiring them and he's protecting them. It's kind of sweet in a lot of ways, especially since when one of them is in trouble later and he flashbacks to that girl that got hurt back in the first issue of this whole thing. It was kind of a big deal for him to jump and dive at him to try and save him. Yeah,
and the doctor, right? That he was mentoring, or the doctor was mentoring Damien.
Yeah.
Right? That goes to that too. So those two big things. So it pulls the threads together for Damien.
I really like that No Man's Land and the earthquake is still something that gets brought up every once in a while. It's something that just fundamentally changed Gotham. That it's still, no matter how many reboots or recanonized things we've done, No Man's Land always happened, because it's just too cool to think about the fact that, oh, a giant earthquake buried some of the city and covered things up, and there's all this stuff that we can refer back to.
And just the idea of Gotham having that cave structure underneath it, right? Because I know Wayne Manor's on the outskirts of town, but still they've played with that. It's very cavernous beneath there. So if an earthquake did open up, Gotham would be kind of a fun city to mess around with that. So, but I just, the way the Memento Mori looks with the old timey hat, right, with the stovepipe hat and the death mask, even with all the bodies up, he just matches the rest of old Gotham down there. It's almost like it is a hell version of Gotham, and he's dressing to fit in, which is kind of fun. I just love what Philip Kennedy Johnson's doing here with we're getting an actual demon. And, we had complained, because I wasn't on for the last one, right? But when Batman goes off with Intrigan, that finally resolved that, we're like, Batman's literally met demons before. And I do like that here, even though this is a supernatural thing, it doesn't change the way that Batman's going about it.
Yeah,
right?
For the record, though, I still complained last issue, because all it did was highlight how dumb he was being before by refusing to believe that something supernatural was happening. See, there's Etrigan. He's standing right here, damn it.
Right. But I do like the thing is the supernatural, but there's still rules.
Yeah.
Right. There's still a way that he can go to it, and still be Batman. So I do like that it kind of resolves that a little bit.
Yeah, obviously, we've said it almost every issue for the last 5 or 6, so I won't repeat it too much. I'll just say that it's been the only negative to this arc is that disconnect of why does Batman so adamantly refuse to accept that there's something supernatural to the killer. But as it plays out, and obviously the Dead City's referencing the city underground, Batman finds his way down there, has his big dramatic entrance, and there's actually there's a really weird surreal moment in the car on the way over where he's still seeing visions because of the poppy, and Alfred right in his head starts talking to him and saying, hey, I remember moments and nights like this where I was on the radio and you were going out to do whatever. What do you need me to say tonight, Master Bruce? And Batman basically says, Alfred, what if he and he sort of pauses, and it's basically Batman worried that what if he's already dead? What if I'm too late? And then he doesn't say that. He doesn't finish his sentence. He just says, do you think he's scared? And Lautrec's just kind of looking over at him. We get a panel of him not really being sure of what he's saying or what he's talking about.
Trek and the monkey. They're both looking at him concerned. Like, who the hell is he talking to?
And then ultimately, the voice from Alfred just says, "His father will be there, Master Bruce." So it's like a nice little moment of like these weird visions like actually helping him for a brief second. But yeah, we get this full page spread of Batman like sort of like blowing in from the top of this like buried city and coming down, landing in the smoke. There's like no words on this page. Well, unless you count the sound effect letters, but they aren't in narration boxes, they aren't in bubbles, they're just kind of part of the image. And yeah, we get the sweet reunion where Batman says he's sorry and Damian says he's okay. In fact, and it's worth to mention as well, is like, you know, when the kids were saying, "Are you Robin? Are you Robin?" There's a moment where Damian's like, "Yeah, I think I am," which is kind of like paying off this, like he was going to like stop being Robin. That was like part of this arc. And this is him realizing, no, I am Robin. I'm going to save these kids. So it feels like he's committed again to being that. So that's cool. Anyway, so Batman says, "Hey, you've done a good job protecting these kids. Let's take care of business." And they go looking for Memento Mori. Well, Batman does. Robin goes to get the kids out. So the big thing that happens here, though, is that Lautrec's also exploring and finds the last of the cult alive. And well, things don't end too well, because Batman finds her like a page later, and she has been hit in the neck with a sledgehammer by this guy, and he starts yelling, "What have you done?" Now, I assume she was just dead instantly. The only reason why I question that a little bit is on the last page, it looks like both her and Batman have been tied to a post, and I don't think I get why they would tie her to a post if she was dead, so she might just be very badly injured. Yeah.
Well, it's very Blair Witch too. He's standing in the corner, and you can't tell that he has the hammer, right? So she comes across this person standing in the corner, and it's super creepy.
That first panel when she walks in, yeah.
And so then he says Memento Mori, and it cuts away, and then we come in, and that she's on the ground, and then when Memento pops up behind Bruce, right, and Bruce is yelling, "What have you done?" If you zoom in on, if you're reading it on the tablet, the face looks like Professor Bly, right? And so just again, some fun stuff with the art there, because it's not the same face that Memento's had throughout this, right? It's not that death mask. So very, very curious to see where this goes here, because that's also how she's looking for Professor Bly. They hear his voice. He calls the voice calls Bruce Young Jack, so. There's some very, very creepy things still going on here.
Yeah, and that ties in because we know that he's using that body. We've known that for at least a couple issues at this point. So that all makes sense. And Batman and Lautrec are finally on board with this whole idea of like, oh, the killer's like possessing different people as time goes on. And obviously the plan might be here for ultimately to possess Damian. So obviously that raises the stakes. Batman's got a reason to really want to stop it. No, it was a good issue. I mean, it was really creepy. There was a lot of spooky vibes because of the setting, and like you say, that Blair Witch style moment and the surprise, either death or almost death, was really well handled. But there was also some touching stuff with Robin and him sort of like getting more towards the end of his arc here, where he's realizing who he is. He's making these big decisions, and it seems to be repairing Batman and Robin's relationship. This feels like it's coming together very nicely, where it feels like everything's kind of like fallen into place, and now we've just got the conclusion to wrap up with. So, cool. So the final page, because I did notice when they're tied to the post, it's a lamp post, and the panel looking down with the light around them was very like the Wayne murders in the alleyway. And the final page is like Batman's looking over, Memento's got a gun to his head, and there's like, the image of the parents lying in the light circle across from them with Joe Chill. Which, I always make fun of whenever writers go back to this, but this, of course, is him on the poppy. This is him seeing the so presumably Memento's taking them to Crime Alley. That's my summation of what this is.
Well, no, they talk about that they're still in the under Gotham, because they talk about that there was these type of lamps there that the area was known for underneath.
Oh, sure.
And
I mean, I just the ending made me think they went to Crime Alley because he's seeing what happened in Crime Alley because that's where they are. But I mean, maybe you're right.
Yeah, but I mean, emotionally, that's where Bruce is because that's why he's seeing it. And again, I have an issue with seeing the Wayne murders again. However, the entire arc's been about death and the remembrance of death, right? That's what Memento Mori means.
We've been seeing different people who have died in Gotham all arc. So the idea that we eventually saw the Waynes isn't that shocking, you know?
And I want to give Mendonca credit. There's no pearls. At least as I can see.
No, there is. There's pearls.
Are there? All right, I'm choosing not to see them, Pete.
You can see them around like near her neck and stuff. They're there.
Yeah. I'm not looking. I'm not gonna look. No pearls.
Hey, at least you didn't see them falling. You don't get the panel of them falling down.
Yes. So, but yeah, he's there. He's got a gun to his head by Memento, who looks back as the regular version. You know, the very Jack the Ripper-esque. So yeah, and they're teasing it's the finale next time. So curious to see where this goes, how it's resolved. You know, because if it is a demon, we know that the demons in DC have these strict rules on how to handle them. So like, what's going to be the thing? You know, is someone going to have to sacrifice himself to get Memento away? Because he does come in cycles, right? So what's the game here? I'm very curious.
Yeah. And I did like the art throughout. I think it adds a lot of atmosphere, a lot of spooky vibes, especially towards the end. But even the big action stuff like Batman bursting through the roof and all that was still pretty good too. So yeah, I mean, if I have any critique, it's just that sometimes reading the demons speak with the rhyming is just a little bit annoying. But that's about it. It's not too often though, so it's not a big deal. No, but it fits with the whole, you know, nursery rhyme kind of thing with Memento at the beginning. So I'm glad it's been consistent. Yeah. So they're still doing it here at the end. But yeah, no, good stuff. Philip Kennedy Johnson's one of the writers that when it's time to read all his books, I get excited. Right, because there's definitely more hits than misses. Same with like Ramby and Kelly Thompson, Dan Waters. Yep. These are my quiver of favorite writers right now. So, and they're all really killing it. So yeah. All right, what are you giving Batman and Robin, Matt? I'm giving this an 8.5. Yeah, I might even go to the 9. It's honestly hard to argue why it doesn't get to that point for me, because I was really digging the vibe. Maybe as a slow start with a flashback, maybe that's like one thing I could ding it for. I'll say, yeah, I'll be nice. I'll give it the 9. Nice. Why not? All right, Batman Dark Patterns issue 8. Then Waters writing with Hayden Sherman on the art. So yeah, this is the second part of the. And I'm going to butcher the name of this because I'm going to help you. Pareidolia. Yeah. Is that it? Pretty spot on. Okay. Yeah. I say pareidolia, but you're probably closer because you're reading it phonetically. So. I wouldn't assume anything. I might be butchering it. For all we know, there's like that's close enough. A silent letter in there. It's like pareolia or something. I don't know. Anyway, so the whole thing last issue, which was again a super dark issue with this Red Hood gang, or a murder in the style of what the Red Hood gang used to do back in the day, in this part of the city, it was super dark, super vicious, and definitely feels like Dan Waters keeps upping the ante of like how grisly can make the book feel in like a really satisfying way. So he's been, scouring that area every single night. Right, he's been going around trying to find any evidence or leads, and he can't find any. The press keep talking about it, and we also have the coroner dude, like examining the body they found, but basically saying there's nothing here to find. Like he claims that there's like nothing here that's identifying or could lead to a culprit, and Batman's like, do it again. And even Gordon's like, hey, there's other things going on in the city, Batman. Like, should we be obsessing over this? And Batman's like, no, this one matters, Gordon. This one matters. We're doing this. So, yeah, he's got a vested interest in this here. And a Bruce the 5 o'clock shadow. 5 o'clock shadow. It's always a fun look. Because man's going through it. And even Gordon comments on that after he yells at Sarnika. He goes, all right, do it again. And if you find nothing, do it again until you find something. And even Gordon's like, God damn, man, take a chill pill. And then he looks at Sarnika as they're leaving and is like, he looks exhausted. So yeah, I like that whole interaction
in that scene.
Yeah, and then he goes to yell at the reporter who keeps writing about his antics, saying he's pissing him off, basically. He's like, I was trying to get your attention. He's like, I'm busy. Like, leave me alone.
He's like, well, you got it now.
But he does tell him something about Dr. Sakura, the coroner. We don't get to hear what it is, but he does say that he was fired from his previous job, and we don't hear what he tells Batman. But Batman just sort of says, "Oh, he has to not think about that now. He's got other stuff to contend with." So they're still teasing out what we're doing with that. But once Batman goes back to the scene of the crime, the washing machine where the body was found, there's these two kids that are kind of watching and commenting on what he's doing and saying, "Oh, he'll never find anything. This is whatever." Batman catches them and chases them down a couple of alleyways and ends up into like a backyard area where there's like a fresh grave. And he's like, "Wait a minute, what is this? This is only 5 minutes away from the crime scene. What is this grave?" And it's kind of showing that he's a bit off kilter right now. He just starts digging with his hands frantically to try and get into what's inside. And I'm like, look, admittedly, it's a human-sized grave in a very non-cemetery place, so it is suspicious. And yes, I get that you do have to look into this, but the fact that you're just dropping to your knees and rummaging through the mud without getting a tool or maybe dealing with the kids first feels, feels like he's obsessed. It feels like he's desperate to find answers for what's going on.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that's in with the idea of pareidolia, right? Because we talked about what pareidolia was in I know not the last issue because I wasn't here for that one. But I remember when it was being solicited, because pareidolia is that since our brain looks for patterns, so we see faces where they're not.
Yeah,
so I'm wondering if
he defined that and talked a lot about it in the last issue.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if this is him looking for patterns that aren't there, right? And that's why he's off his game. He's so desperate that it's got to make sense in a way that he understands that he completely misses all of the danger that's at play.
Yeah, because he digs down, he opens up the metal coffin, there's nothing inside it, right? He's frustrated, but immediately there's a rifle pointing at him from a window up top, and we get maybe the best page of the book is this 2-page layout where it's the wraparound full 2-page spread, if you will, is of the entire setting, and you see the shooter up in the window, Batman's down in the bottom right with the bullet hitting the back of his shoulder. But you've got these long panels all the way through going down to him. So they're in the order of going as if the bullet's trajectory is going down towards him. But you get this sense of motion going down. And Batman's describing, because of the sound, the caliber, all this, he's already placing all these details and he's already solving the crime. But he kind of reveals at the very end of it all that because of the type of gun it is and because the bullet travels quicker than sound, by the time he's heard the gunshot, it means he's already hit. So, it feels like, he gets mud all over his outfit. It feels like he's pretty down and out. And he angrily climbs up to the window that took a shot at him, only to find that a really old man's in a wheelchair with a breather. But the rifle's sitting next to him. So it's pretty clear that it was him if someone else didn't just run away. And basically complains that, hey, Batman, the Red Hood gang used to keep things, going smoothly in this part of town. But everyone acted with respect because they knew what would happen to them if they crossed the Red Hood gang, and has this little flashback moment. And I want to compliment something in the art here, is that there's a panel when he's telling this story about how things used to be. The bottom one in that page is kind of almost an S shape of black and white flashback panels. The bottom one, the way that the two guys in the foreground are looking at each other is almost identical to a panel earlier in the issue when the two kids were looking at each other. And my mind immediately went, wait a minute, there's a correlation there. And sure enough, very quickly after this, it turns out these two kids are working for the old man and they're both wearing red hoodies. And this old man wants to keep the red tooth threat alive. And he also talks about how the body was this woman that crossed them way back when. And so the implication I think they're going for here is that grave is only fresh because it was dug up to retrieve her body and then dress it up for the crime scene where Batman found it, because it was to scare everyone into thinking the Red Hood gang's around. So this was kind of the big reveal.
So Batman's been literally chasing ghosts.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So, which I love. And when the kids come in and I realize they were wearing red jackets the whole time, It was one of those things that you go back and it was always there. You just weren't looking for it, which again, I feel like goes in with the pattern recognition kind of theme. You know, it's goddamn Dan Watters constantly working on all cylinders.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, it's hard for me to pick favorites out of the arcs in this book so far, because I think they've all been very good in different ways, even though they're all sort of feeding into this kind of dark and horror-fueled version of Gotham that he's operating under. You know, like this murder in the body that was found last issue might be the darkest thing in the book, which is saying something when this book started off with an arc about the what was his name?
The Wound Man.
The Wound Man. I was like, trying to remember what word it was that he had for his title.
I will never forget the Wound Man. He haunts my dreams.
Oh, I always remember what it looks like, but I'm like, is it the Injury Man? Is it the, you know, the yeah, I don't know. Like, well,
this one hits onto the psychological level because it's the idea that the Rookery neighborhood still like isn't the best, but this old man was like, yeah, it was better when we were running things. And when Batman showed up and chased out the Red Hood gang, that's when it got bad. And I was like, well, no, dude, like you've deluded yourself into thinking you guys were important, right? And that's the thing with like all the mob movies and that kind of mentality that, because we get it here in Vegas a lot where people are like, oh, it was such a better place when the mob ran Vegas. And I was like, guys, there's barely anybody left from that time period. Like maybe our grandparents, you know, but yeah, so just the danger of that way of thinking, that things were better back then, you know, and yeah, so and the fact that Bruce has been chasing ghosts and this is his own hubris catching up with him, that he thinks he can just do things by himself instead of listening to Gordon and being like, hey man, while you were out there in the Rookery, 2 other people died that, you know, we could use your help. You know, so Batman had just listened. You know, so which gives it that early Batman vibe still too. Yeah, he's still kind of learning and learning how to trust. But I want to know what Serenaka did because that dude worked at a place called the Florida Body Farm. And that definitely doesn't sound like a good place. Which I know what it is. It's you know, like when you donate your body to science, they do things to the bodies to see how they decompose.
Oh, I thought you just meant because it's in Florida.
Well, that too. But they see what happens, you know, when a body decomposes in the name of science. So then they can use that science to help solve crimes and whatever. He got kicked out of that. Now he's a medical examiner in Gotham. Like, what the hell? So I'm looking forward to that revelation too.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I have a hard time faulting much here. It's kind of stealthily, arguably the best Batman book right now. And that's when we've got Tom Taylor doing Detective, which I'm liking a lot. But this, I think, is arguably the better book for just atmosphere and vibes and just sort of the darker themes that it's hitting on.
Yeah, it's this Batman, or it's probably this, the Batman and Robin, and the Tech, I think. But they're all very strong in their own ways. Yeah. Right?
And that's just on the ongoings. Like if we include Batman and Robin Year One, then we're kind of swimming in good Batman right now. It's just actual Batman that's the problem.
Yeah. You know, and then Batgirl's good and Nightwing's been good. So this section is going strong. So and just let Dan Watters tell whatever stories he wants at this point. I am fully in on this dude.
For sure.
So
what are you giving Dark Patterns?
I'm giving this a 9.
Yeah, I can't argue with it. 9 out of 10. I concur. So Batman, Gotham by Gaslight, A League for Justice, issue 1. Andy Diggle writing with Leandro Fernández on the art. And I'm relieved because I think before I put this on the list, I assumed the title was going to be really stupid and it was going to be Batman, Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Age, A League for Justice, issue 1. I thought they were going to keep the other title in there as well. And I'm so glad they didn't. If anything, it's still too clunky. The Batman part should be gone. It should just be Gotham by Gaslight, A League for Justice.
Gotham by Gaslight, A League for Justice. That is a title.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Real quick, Pete, reading this, there's been some quite time. I remember the beats. How the hell did Martian Manhunter come around? I totally forgot Manhunter was part of this. Do you remember?
I remember like cutting to Mars and him kind of waking up and wanting to get involved. If we know in depth why he's so mad, specifically at Green Lanterns, I don't know if I remember that detail, but I remember him being there for sure.
I have these somewhere. I'll have to go back and look, but I wasn't sure if that was just a me issue or if other people. It doesn't hinder the book at all. The book moves still, but I was just like, oh yeah, Martian Manhunter's here. Yeah. Let's see if I was the only one that forgot, because I remember all the Green Lantern stuff. I remember Wonder Woman coming through with Adam Strange, all the Superman stuff in Smallville.
Well, that was just,
of course, all the Batman stuff.
Yeah, the Superman stuff was just the last issue, though. That was like right at the end of that.
But I feel like that's also when Manhunter was popping up around the same time. So, I figured it would have been fresh, and I just totally forgot about Manhunter. So
yeah, the opening is kind of a recap almost with Adam Strange, kind of like his journal describing a bunch of stuff that's going on with the Kryptonian age, and that this tech's all kind of popping up. And it all kind of started activating 30 years ago, which coincided with when Clark arrived on Earth. So it's a little bit of a recap, just kind of getting you up to speed, and then it takes us back into the cliffhanger, which is Superman in his outfit, which is obviously very different from normal, coming out to address the other heroes at the burning sheriff station in the town, whilst the Suicide Squad are stealing the energy source meteors from the bank. So, you know, they have a bit of conflict. They're kind of fighting a little bit and, you know, debating what to do. But ultimately, they go and stop the bad. Batman takes the power source. He, like, grabs it out of Harley's hands. Croc tries to fight Superman, hurts himself. None of that goes particularly well.
I love the Get 'em boys out of Harley and the Suicide Squad surround Superman, and she just has a straight razor to him. It's such a funny sequence.
Oh yeah, good luck with
and
that.
Then he throws them all off. Yeah.
So yeah, but there's some conflict between Green Lantern, Alan Scott, and Martian Manhunter, where we find out the one of the previous ring wielders was Zhong Li, and because I don't think that's the old person he got it from. Maybe it was. Maybe I'm just not remembering the name. But yeah,
the person on the train. So that's all I remember, and foisted it upon him.
Yeah.
So
I think here, you know, this whole idea that he doesn't want to give up the power, and he's like, no, I will not step aside. And because I got this ring and it's shown me a bunch of memories, like, I know you killed this Green Lantern. Yeah, it couldn't have been the person on the train, because the Martian didn't kill the person on the train.
Right.
So, yeah, it couldn't have been.
They killed Zhong Li.
Yeah. So, so they fight for a little bit, and ultimately Wonder Woman steps in and tries to deal with them. There was like a really notable bit here though, where Martian Manhunter like goes into Alan's head and like basically gives him like a souped up flashback of his drunk father threatening to beat him. But the one notable thing that he's put in is that like he's wearing a ring and his dad's telling him to take it off because it's girly to be wearing a ring, and it's just mentally trying to trick him into taking the ring off. But of course,
yeah.
I was going to say, of course, it doesn't work, and Alan sort of fights back with showing a construct of Jean's family, which makes him all emotional. So,
I love because Alan goes, you know, that's a two-way door. I can do the same thing. So it just shows his sense of will as well. Also, I didn't know if I realized this before, because again, the timing. The shape of the Green Lantern ring is also in the Superman S shape, right? So just also driving home the whole Kryptonian age.
Oh yeah, we knew that. That's because back when they first teased that ring, like I didn't even jump to it's a Green Lantern thing. I just thought it was kryptonite or something.
That's right. Okay, right. That's right.
Because of that. So yeah, they've taken care of the criminals fairly easily, and they're just bickering to themselves. Superman goes and grabs the water tower from the train station and pours that all over the fire to put that out. Lois and Jimmy are running around. She wants an interview with Superman, so that's kind of the start of that relationship prospering. The big thing is, though, is that the train is being driven apparently by Lex Luthor, and he basically transforms it into a giant mech suit at the end, which is the cliffhanger, is like, oh, Lex is coming for this energy source with his big mech suit at the end. So, I mean, I didn't see that coming, so fair play to Diggle.
It's very Wild Wild West. Right? The big metal spider?
I guess. Although, you know? I don't know if drawing comparisons to Wild Wild West is something that anyone should be happy about.
Look, however, this is better, because it's not a big metal spider, because as we know, spiders are the most dangerous animals in the animal kingdom.
Do you know it's been like over a decade since The Death of Superman Lives, the documentary, came out?
I know.
That's how long that joke's been running.
Yes, and sadly, a couple of years ago, the director died. The guy that put it all together.
Oh, I think I remember hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah, very sad. He was a nice guy. I met him at Comic-Con one time. And we talked about what's his name? Who's the producer?
John Peters.
John Peters. He goes, those interviews were the best. He goes, going in, I knew I was gonna have a good day talking to John Peters because the batshit amount of stuff he would say. But yeah, no, the mech suit train. So I was getting a little bit Back to the Future 3 vibes with Lex in this big steam train with all the handles and stuff. I'm like, oh, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna, super speed it up? And no, he turns into a big Lex mech battle suit. So, which will be fun to see all the heroes hit, right? They get to team up. We get a good, fun Justice League moment.
Yeah, and they're in kind of a moment of debate themselves because Batman's got the power source out of this thing, this little triangle box they stole. And the others surround him and sort of like say, hey, you're not a thief, are you? And they all just kind of stand there skilling at him. And he's like, okay, we need to talk. I suspect that maybe he actually owns this. That this is actually like a Wayne owned thing in the vault. I could be wrong, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's the case.
Yeah.
So, nah. I mean, this was really fun. It was like, I remember the 6th issue of the first half of this being the weakest one because it was maybe it wasn't planned to be split into 2, so there was maybe some juggling to try and give it more of a cliffhangery kind of like, oh, this is the end of like the first half kind of thing. And I think that issue maybe suffered a little bit from having to introduce, because it had to introduce Superman, which was probably always the plan, but it also introduced all the Suicide Squad and it did all these things. This one, I think, benefits from being able to just kind of mop up a lot of that stuff with it already set up. But I'm curious to see how this progresses, and I'm also curious to see how the Flash comes into it, which we know Lex has got trapped somewhere along with
and Cyborg.
And Cyborg, yeah. No, curious. I don't know if it quite has the atmosphere that the first like 2 or 3 issues of the book did, but I mostly had fun with this. It was a very pleasant, easy read, and I think the art is pretty solid, and it's obviously they get to play around with all the different outfits compared to the usual styles.
Yeah, this is kind of what I love about Elseworlds, is you get to see the what if aspect of like, this is a Victorian, era of the Justice League, and what's that look like? And just the way that Green Lantern's dressed like a gentleman, right? But it still has all the green and stuff because that's clearly who he is. And then you have Superman, who has kind of that, I don't know what kind of thing it is. I want to call it like a tunic, but it almost looks like something that people would wear into battle. Has that double-breasted with the clips or whatever. Yeah, so definitely period-specific stuff.
It's like an old military top. But with the S on it, obviously.
On it, yeah, and he's wearing a mask, which is funny. So, but yeah, just kind of what Elseworlds meant to do. I love all this type of stuff. Yeah, it's just a pleasant read.
Yeah, there's a whole bit with Lois trying to name him and coming up with a bunch of different things that start with S, and she lands on the Sentinel, so we'll see if that sticks. But she seems quite excited by that one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something because she's trying to find the alliteration, which I thought was very funny. Jimmy, what alliterates with Kansas? But yeah, a lot of good stuff.
I can think of one really naughty word, but I don't think that'll play well with the newspapers.
Yeah, it's not.
Anyway, what are you rating League for Justice, whatever it's called?
I'm 8. It's like a fun read.
I don't know if I go that high. I would go with like I think a 7. I think it's good. I don't think this is a spectacular issue, but I think it was a pleasant read, so I can't dock it too many points, but that's where I'm landing. So that'll take us out to the final part of the show, where we pick our favourite stuff of the week, favourite panel/moment, favourite cover, favourite art, all that stuff. So Matt, what was your panel/moment of the week?
All right, so moment-wise, I really do like in Action Comics with Clark talking about how Lana's changed and how he wanted to get a better look at her, but he couldn't. I thought that was fun. In Batman and Robin, the Robin saying like, yes, I am Robin, and like his acceptance of that's who he is after, the arc that he's been through. Absolute Superman had some fun ones. I really liked the stuff with Lois and Roz, and how she just kind of stares him dead in the face and is like, I'm not afraid of you. And he brings up her dad. and that makes her play nice. But my moment's going to be from Dark Patterns, and it's going to be that gunshot panel that you expertly described. Just the way that the bullet moves across the screen or the page in those different panels, and to Bruce as he's basically saying, like, I was too distracted. If I wasn't distracted, I wouldn't have gotten caught up in this. So that one's mine.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, Dark Patterns has got a couple of cool moments, but yeah, it feels like Batman and Robin's probably taking the Moments Award this week, just because it's got a lot of them that are really stand out. I think for me, it has to be the Blair Witch creepiness moment.
Yeah,
because
that's a good one too.
Builds up some suspense, and they pay it off because she actually does get hurt. It's not just a fake out. So, yeah, I'm going with that. Cover of the week.
Yeah,
there's a few interesting ones to mention here. There's a Bill Sienkiewicz cover for League for Justice, which is just like Batman on a bridge, but it's like an oil painting. It looks gorgeous. So shout out to that. I'll shout out as well the Raphael De La Terre variant for Batman and Robin's pretty good. My pick, though, is the variant by Martin Simmons for Dark Patterns, which is this just beautifully dark, kind of gothic painting of a lot of hands grabbing at Batman. It's super ethereal. It's very kind of like, like Arkham Asylum by Grant Morrison, like type style art. Forgive me for not remembering the artist from that to compare it, but like it's definitely making me think of that vibes wise, and I really love that stuff. So, what are you picking?
Right, so there's let me see, the Sebastian Fui Mara variant for A League for Justice. That's got Batman on a horse in the foreground, but then the background's made up of this really cool sepia tone Superman with a big S across it, and it just looks old and Western and kind of hits the vibe of the comic. And then Action Comics has a variant, if my computer wants to, there it goes, by Skylar Patridge, who's the interior artist, of Superboy over like the cornfields with the Kent barn and silo behind him. And it's just the way that the image plays with the colors. You have the corn and it's all green, and then it ends up with this blue sky with the clouds. It looks great. But my pick of the week is the Joelle Jones variant for Supergirl, which has Supergirl, almost looks like it should have been for that miniseries or that backup series with Tamaki and Skylar Patridge. But it's got Supergirl on this, what looks like asteroid with a bunch of other smaller ones around him. The way that the light's bouncing off of her, it's Joelle Jones at her best. So that's my pick.
All right. Best art of the week. What you got?
Okay. Usually I 9 times out of 10, I always give this to Hayden Sherman. We all know Hayden Sherman's my favorite working artist. However, a lot of the art that Skylar Patridge did in Action Comics this week, I keep going back to because a lot of it's very simple. A lot of it is small town life and Ma and Pa Kent and conversations. And to make it still be so gripping, I'm going to give it to Skylar Patridge this week.
That's fair. That's solid. Sophie Campbell's good. I think I think I'm going to go with Batman and Robin, but I want to say that Dark Patterns, like, I love the layouts in that book, and I think it has great sequential art. But I think ultimately I'm going with Batman and Robin because the art style is just way more creepy and the vibes are off the chart. So I'm going with that, but it was tough between those two this week. So cool. All right, top 5 books, Matt.
All right, so number 1 is going to be Batman Dark Patterns. 2 is going to be Batman and Robin. 3 is Gotham by Gaslight, A League for Justice. 4 is Action Comics. And 5 is Supergirl.
Okay. My number 1 is Dark Patterns. My number 2 is Batman and Robin. My number 3... yeah, maybe Action. Number 4, Green Lantern Corps. Number 5, Supergirl. So there you go. That's the books for this week. I'll tell you what's coming out next week from DC Comics. So we have Absolute Batman issue 10, Absolute Flash issue 5, Nightwing 128, Detective Comics 1099. We have Batman Superman World's Finest 41. We got Wonder Woman 23. We have Batman and Robin Year 1 Issue 9. I thought it was Batman and Robin again. I'm like, wait, already? No, it's Year 1. And then we got New Gods Issue 8, Titans 25, Zatanna Issue 6, Superman Unlimited Issue 3, Batman and Robin Jason Todd Issue 2, Crypto, The Last Dog of Krypton Issue 2, Gotham City Sirens Unfit for Orbit Issue 3, and then there's some reprints and facsimiles. I thought I was going to read the next Crypto issue, but looking at how many books are next week, I've got a funny feeling that I'm not going to read that one.
Yeah. So not only do I got to get caught up on Crypto, but also the Jason Todd book, because I didn't read that from last time.
You should read that, because that was...
Yeah, I will. No, it's Lemire, right? And it's went on art, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah. Packed week. Packed week. But a lot of my favorite stuff. You got Wonder Woman, and you got Absolute Batman, you got Nightwing, you got Batman and Robin Year 1, New Gods.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. Also, I really should be doing a Patreon book, at least one next week. So, yeah, that one. And it also might be Solicits week. So, settle in next week. So, if you're disappointed at the sub 2 hour episode this week, don't worry. Next week's bringing the goods. Anyway, that is the show, everyone. You can, of course, let us know what you thought of this week's books in the comments. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Helps out a bunch if you do. You can support the show and help keep it coming by going to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and supporting financially over there. Anyone who supports us is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much to everyone who does. And help keeps the show trucking along. And I already promoted it a bit at the start, but of course, I do a lot of movie podcasts over in MailFuzz Movies, or they all have their own podcast feed. There's a science fiction movie podcast called The Atomic Sim Experiment. There's a horror movie podcast called Screams After Midnight. And most relevant right now is Collector's Cut, which is a movie podcast where me and David go through franchises and things like that. And we have been going through the Superman movies, which I've been kind of mentioning here or there over the last few weeks, because they've been coming out with the new movie. The review for that hitting on Tuesday. Normally it's a Saturday show, but we're bringing it forward to the Tuesday window to get that out nice and quick. So go check out that if you want to hear some full extended thoughts on Superman. I'm sure me and Matt will do some quick thoughts next week. That said, though, already a long episode next week, so maybe not. But
you're already stopping me from talking about Superman. Once people know what you think. You know? Can't stop this.
Oh, yeah. I've seen the movie, and I specifically did not tell Matt how I felt, just so that he couldn't even imply anything during this recording. That's how seriously I take my embargoes, my self-inflicted embargoes.
Drive people over to his reviews, which is fine, but me and him are friends, and now he's making me wait until we're done recording so I can hear his thoughts before I go off to take care of my business.
Hey, Matt, it's mere seconds away at this point. You're fine. You're almost there.
Yes. We're almost there.
So that's the show, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics. And remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.